Hello and welcome to the FinTech Finance Virtuarena. Now on today's session we're going to be looking at how companies, banks and fintechs alike can instill their company culture despite the new ways of working. And joining me today is Rhea Chatterjee from Monument Bank. Now because of the insane heat here in the UK, we actually had a bit of technical issues. So the beginning of this episode we're going to be hearing from Rhea straight away, diving straight into it. So Rhea, thank you very much. Can you also tell us a bit more about Monument, please?
Indeed, and actually that's the exciting proposition and actually what attracted me to Monument in the first place, as it very much sits within a niche area focused on the mass affluent community, who are professionals, lawyers, doctors, accountants, those who work hard for what they have and what they've achieved, but are time poor, largely due to the jobs that they do. And effectively, we at Monument are building a bank around them and their needs. We work very closely with our community in that area to understand what their pain points are, and what they don't get from the current banks that serve them at the moment. These are very much, and this is why I suppose it's so important, these are very much people that we all rely on in life, whether it's our accountants that we use, whether it's entrepreneurs who are building businesses and creating jobs, through to doctors who, certainly over the last month have been even more critical than they usually are. So, it's really about giving those that sort of deserve far better than what they're currently getting from their financial services experience, and being able to give that to them. Very much focused on more than just the savings and lending products, which we do, but also about creating a financial services experience that enables them to, they're a community of people that really know what they want, they know what they're looking for, so they want a bank that knows what they want and what they need and can give them what they're looking for. And that's the gap that we're trying to fill.
And definitely, and I can completely agree, because there's so much talk about financial inclusion, but that doesn't actually look at how the services are provided to various different sectors. And there's still, as you said, huge gaps in the market to be fulfilled that the traditional players just haven't yet. They've had 20 years or so of fintech really being on the ground, and they still haven't adapted. And I specifically think this type of banking maybe adapts in slower ways than other parts. So I think it's a really interesting space to be in. Now, with that in mind, you recently acquired a banking license in the UK, which, congratulations. But I've got to ask, what was it like really starting in the heart of a pandemic?
Building a bank in a pandemic has been interesting, to say the least. But if you'd asked me this question 18 months ago, I think my sort of assumptive answer would be very different to my actual answer. But, actually been surprisingly proactive and collaborative. I think there was a lot of perceptions pre-pandemic that working virtually just doesn't allow you to be, to be as collaborative or as productive as you are in the office. I think at Monument we can safely say that's not the case. We've effectively built a bank, built a team, built a culture, entirely in lockdown. And I have to say that is, in large part due to our people. The flexibility, the being so accommodating, understanding that, we're all sort of rolling with the punches to some extent, and, and being able to adapt to that. We have, without going too much into it, because I don't understand all that much, but in terms of our tech setup as well, we've been able to move to a fully remote way of working quite seamlessly through our cloud operations, through the technology systems we use. There's been a multitude of things that have enabled us to be very fungible and move to a complete remote working situation. And I guess in my role, I would always say this, but the people side of it, and the way and the team, and how they've collaborated and worked together, and our leadership as well, really being present and leading from the top and engaging with people, has really sort of driven that success and driven how we work together. So it's been an interesting road, but actually, incredibly and surprisingly very productive and collaborative.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there was a bank to really be able to do it, it would be an organization like yours. And it's brilliant to hear how the leadership from the top down, because it's become so important to kind of create that mantra of flexibility and working from home was a shock to a lot of people, but it's got to be displayed from all levels, and I think that's really exciting to hear that. Now, I've got to ask, because you're the expert in this field, how can companies and financial service providers, or all the way up to financial institutions, adapt and create a strong company culture whilst working remotely? How did you guys tackle it?
I think the key word in the question that you've asked there is adapt, and I think that's what we've had to do. We've had to be flexible. Our people have had to be flexible. We're all getting used to a new way of being. We're in and out of lockdowns. The external environment is changing every day. We're sort of rolling with the rules as they go. So that flexibility and understanding has been really critical to creating that strong culture and ways of working at Monument. And I think building on that is the ensuring that we really listen. So, there's so many things out there in terms of surveys and, listening to people, but actually listening and taking on board ideas, making sure that there's environments where people feel that they can speak up. So it's not just through formalized processes, actually creating somewhere where people are confident to speak up and want to have those conversations to look at different ways of doing things. At Monument, we do a number of things, a number of mechanisms, I guess, to build relationships and to keep communication channels. We have all the traditional things, regular calls, all hands meetings, daily stand-ups, delivery meetings, which is probably slightly more detailed. We also have regular social events as well. We have drinks every Friday, and we've really tried to keep to some of these traditions to keep that relationship side, not just in terms of work, but also in terms of getting to know our colleagues and making sure that everyone's all right and they're getting what they need. One of the things that I would say stands out for me at Monument is the way in which we get everyone's opinions and views, and we really seek to take those on board. So whenever we're making a core decision about the organisation, about the culture, it's very much done with the backbone of collecting the views, the preferences, the opinions of all of our team, regardless of what role or what level in the organisation. And being really respectful, not just of people's opinions and taking them on board and listening to their ideas, but also in terms of their time. One of the things that we found sort of reasonably early on in the second lockdown was that it was just so many. It was Teams meeting after Teams meeting, and people just weren't actually getting any time to do any work. So we started creating blackout time, realised that didn't really work, and people were just sort of booking over it. Meetings were running over into that time. So now what we've done and sort of consistently applied across the whole organisation is we've sort of bookended the week. So Monday mornings, Friday afternoons is complete no meeting time. Give people a bit of a chance to kind of get on top of things before the beginning or the end of the week. And then regular sort of Tuesday to Thursday sections in the middle of the day to really enable people to be able to work in the way that they want to work. And it's working incredibly well. It's giving people the chance to do whatever it is they want to do, have lunch, go for a walk, go for a jog, do some work. And I think that's been really critical as well, is being respectful of how other people want to work, and that works when you've got an organisation that listens and cares about other people's preferences.
Well, I think that's absolutely incredible, because what I'm hearing, especially, is when it comes to company culture, is you're using the terms like giving people voice and listening, and so from the outside in, that really sounds like I can already distill Monument's company culture into a kind of a community where everyone is heard, and as a result, that's where the kind of good ideas come from, because you can't own every good idea, and so you've got to hear those voices. Now, do you think that obviously every company has different culture, and some people kind of have mantras that they kind of live by? Do you think the concept of what a company culture has changed as a result of the pandemic, or was it already changing with all these new ways of working, and the pandemic has just shifted that in exponentially quicker?
It's a really interesting question, and I think I'm sure there's many that would disagree with me. But I think in terms of the concept of a company culture, I don't believe that has changed. I think the way in which we achieve, build, grow, maintain a culture, I think that has changed. So, for Monument, we have a really clear vision about what we're trying to achieve. Who our clients are, how we want to interact with them. What our values are as an organization, how we're going to build our behaviors and our aspirations. So we've always been quite clear on that, and our culture is something that we've spent a long time deliberating, developing, working, again, to your point, giving everyone a voice, and really working with the entire team to develop what Monument's culture should be and can be going forward. I think for us, the concept of a culture as a bank, we have to have a heavy focus on our clients, on integrity, on how we interact with them. But also, we want to be able to be innovative in what we do. We want to be bold and to make a difference to our clients, as we've talked about earlier. So, being able to innovate and to change and being empowered to speak up, to be able to create an environment that is quite dynamic and diverse, is all about the culture that we have. So the concept hasn't changed. How we're going to achieve that and how we do that and how we work together to achieve that, I would say that's what's sort of shifted, certainly over the last 18 months.
Interesting. Now, you've talked about actually some of the realistic aspects of working from home. You used to have blackout periods, then you've now entered this period of a bit more flexibility during the middle of the week, but then time to knuckle down towards the end. Do you think that the pandemic has actually fostered greater collaboration between employees? Because now, rather than just going to the same typical employees, maybe they're a bit closer to you, you're actually opening up your scope because everyone's available at any time, realistically. Do you think we're now seeing different ways of collaborating within an organization?
Yeah, I do. And I think, you're right in that respect. I think all being in the same boat, we have thought, to be honest, we probably thought a lot more about how we work together. I think prior to the pandemic, you just went into the office. That's what you did. You turned up to the meeting room where you needed to be. Occasionally you'd have to factor in dialing people in if they were out of the office, but it was fewer and further between. Whereas now everyone is remote. So, you have to think about their time, how you're going to interact with them, how you're going to get what you need. So I think everyone's been much more considered about, how we interact and how we work and how we adapt to be able to do that. And I think we've also been much more considerate of people's time, their well-being, the personal circumstances that they're in. I think, not to get too cheesy about it, but I think, the pandemic has almost given us a bit of a window into people's lives that you wouldn't get when you see them in the office. We've met people's kids, their pets, their partners, on quite a regular basis. So you get that opportunity to not just build collaboration, but build relationships as well in a way that you don't normally get. So I do think the pandemic has supported some greater collaboration in those respects, in terms of that sort of building relationships and understanding more about people and how they work. But on the flip side of that, we recently actually did a survey with all of our colleagues just to understand sort of how people thought about flexible working in the future. And as we were starting to look at, what are we going to do as an organisation? Let's talk to our people and get their thoughts. And actually, the three top things that came out of their reason for wanting to be in the office were all about collaboration, building relationships with their immediate team and the wider organisation as well. So, you're never going to replace some of that in-person interaction with virtual, no matter how well you do it and how successful you've been. I think, that very much it lends itself into the why people are going for a bit more of a hybrid approach.
But I think that's absolutely brilliant because it always needed a discussion. The technology was there. As you said, there would occasionally be people dialing in. It was never actually an issue. And it's now trying to find this middle ground where we can embrace these technological advancements and maybe the cultural changes brought about by the pandemic to find the best thing to suit each company culture. And I maybe this is my personal experience. I don't think we would have been having these conversations if it hadn't have been for the pandemic. So in that way, it's actually quite an exciting time. Now, with that in mind, looking further ahead, we're seeing some incredibly agile kind of ideas coming ahead, and especially when it comes to acquiring talent, it seems to be quite an important factor. So I've got to ask, Rhea, to what extent do you think agile work environments are going to play a key part in future successes when it comes to acquiring talents for banks like Monument?
Just to clarify, when you say acquiring talent, we're talking about sort of recruitment or in terms of attracting?
Both, in terms of recruitment and also in terms of acquiring.
I think I mean, Agile means so many things to so many different people. You talk to a techie about Agile, it's a whole different world. But I think, for me, if I take Agile in terms of being flexible and looking at how we work, I think one of the core questions in the survey I mentioned that we asked was, why do you want to go into an office? So that for us is the key question. It's not about saying, well, you've got to come in 2 days a week, but who cares why? You've just got to be in the office 2 days a week or 3 days a week, or whatever it is. So for us, that agility is around, what is the purpose for you being there? How do you, in your team, build that collaboration that you're looking for without this sort of feeling of having to fix a set parameter or a set way of working. So I think from an Agile perspective, that's one of the core things that we're doing, is really focusing on the need to be at home or in the office, and how we create a flexible way of working that enables people to do that. I think in terms of the technology that we use, I think again really creates a dynamic agile way of working. We've got kind of virtual support functions, we've got virtual IT capabilities, we're all geared up on our laptops, we've got all of the sort of functionality to do the video calls, but we've equally got that in the office as well, so that we can have that blend of people in the office and people at home, and it's still going to continue to work in the same way. I think the one thing that we've not quite figured out yet is how we're going to continue to do the Friday socials if some people are in the office and some aren't. And at the moment, I was actually in the office last Friday, so we all kind of dialed in virtually, and we had the same social and sort of had a few beers in the office. But I think that kind of social interaction is probably the one that needs a bit more thinking about. But from a work perspective, we've really got that sort of blend of technology in person and the setup to enable us to do that.
And I think that's such a good position to be in, because a lot of banks in your situation don't have that agility. So to be able to be in that position to offer that flexibility is so exciting. Now, one thing that I always find very exciting to hear about is there's always murmurings on the internet, rumors that some countries have tried it out. Now, the financial industry is always maybe quite slow when it comes to flexibility, but do you think that the 4-day work week is possible in finance?
It's an interesting question. I don't think one size fits all. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean for necessarily across an organisation. I think we need to sort of take it down another layer, a bit more granular, and look at the client commitments, the nature of a role, the teams people sit in. There's various roles within a bank, within client services and operations, where these tend to be almost 7 days a week, kind of round the clock service areas. So moving to a 4-day a week possibility makes it much more tricky to be able to operate at that level. So I never say never, and I think there's always, I think if nothing else over the last 18 months, we've really seen that anything can be possible. But I don't think that's a question that we could say across banking, that could be a flat rule. I think we need to listen and consider and see what works for individual teams.
Perfect. Well, we're coming up to time, so if we just quickly to wrap up, we've got to ask, if you could kind of tell our audience where to find out more about you guys and what's on the cards for Monument going forward.
So, definitely visit us on our website, monument.co, and it is just .co. And you can learn a lot more about our team. We've got phenomenal board and leadership team of experience that are building the bank. I think going forward for Monument, the key thing for us is we are in a really fortunate position where we can be flexible, and where flexibility is important to us. We've talked a lot about technology. I think we all test our technology and make sure that there's continuous development, continuous improvement and delivery. And from my perspective, it's very much the same for a people function. We're going to trial ways and approaches. We're going to talk to our people and see what works, and keep iterating and keep developing, and treat our sort of UAT testing on technology and do the same with our people and our clients, and making sure that Monument continues to deliver and be the bank that we know it will be.
That's absolutely brilliant, Rhea. Thank you so much. It's so fascinating to hear a bank actually listen to its employees, and that's something that's come across throughout this whole conversation. So thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rhea. And also to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. You can catch the rest of the series and much more over at www.fintechf.com, and of course YouTube and LinkedIn, where I'll see you there in the comments. Once again, guys, thank you very much and see you soon. Goodbye.